Hello everybody, how are you going? And welcome back to some more Historica Canada videos where we are lucky enough to have a brand new Heritage Minute being Mary Riter Hamilton. Now I have no context, no idea what to expect, not even a time period besides some mud on a shoe, and so it's always a very eye-opening experience, but it's only a minute so you have to lock in.
For me, the end was just the beginning.
Right.
I felt I must come. If I did not come at once, it would be too late.
Okay.
And these places that are watered with the best blood of Canada might only be names and memories. I see it in the soldiers, the grief I know so intimately. And I will not abandon these men to it. The isolation wears on me. Slowly, the silence takes over, as if my heart has given out of air. I cannot talk. I can only paint.
For more than 2 years, Mary Riter Hamilton painted the battlefields of the First World War, creating an unforgettable visual record of service and sacrifices at immense personal cost.
Wow. Oh, that was a lot to take in for starters. Like they even just rounded it up at the end there, saying at immense personal cost. She couldn't even speak anymore, I guess, because she was seeing unspeakable things just as people are still there wanting to, or by her own volition, going to the front lines after they were no longer operational, but still just feeling the true effects. And when you see these fields of poppies and just everything that she would have been seeing, I mean, obviously all the guys that were there, there's so much tragedy in that. Like there's tragedy during the years, and that's often focused on. But then from a modern perspective, we don't, yes, there's recessions and yes, there's monetary things, but it's all the families that just get ripped apart, let alone when you actually just take yourself into the actual battlefield and you get to see it for yourself, but doing it as a service. Not doing it because you're inquisitive and then leaving and going back to your multi-million-dollar place, or just going back to your cozy bed after you spent a day or an hour walking around the field. No, she seemingly spent a long time there, and like they said, at a very personal cost to her. But just the fact that she said, I didn't want to abandon these guys, and some of the things that we even seen, I mean, I just have to give props to the prop department in this regard in terms of all the different things and elements. It's so visually provocative in terms of what you're actually looking at. It's so beautifully shot from the time period and everything like that. Man, I would love to know if she had previous experiences with anything, because it sounded like she'd been there before and mentally been there before. She didn't want to abandon these guys like she knew so well. Is that what she said?
I see it in the soldiers, the grief I know so intimately.
Yeah, the grief I know so intimately. And so that's, once again, like I said, I have no context to know who she is, what she was before this entire Heritage Minute, so to say, but she clearly has a basis there of understanding, and then just an incredible talent for painting and capturing these snippets in time as well. And so, man, as much as we do have photography of that time period, you know, people often forget that photography was around well before World War I, let alone World War II. It's not a modern thing in any regard. It's just a little bit more difficult, often, than just a few colors and a canvas that you can just stretch. It's, I guess, different difficulties, but just the creativity that you can then portray through the canvas, portraying either a more bleak environment or a less bleak environment, but still getting the message across when you see these kind of fields. I would love to know exactly where this is. Still, it's an incredible talent. Hey, I also do love coming down and seeing if I can glean anything else from the description itself. And so to be starting out with, I cannot talk, I can only paint, is once again just very provocative. Historica Canada always just outdo themselves. Mary Riter Hamilton painted the battlefields from the First World War as a testament to its devastating cost. I would wonder, they didn't say where her works are being displayed currently. I can only presume somewhere in Canada, but maybe also worldwide. You know, like, let's say, is there one in the Louvre? Is there one in the Australian Art Gallery? I have no idea. And of course, that's the case with so many artists. There are so many incredible people from throughout all of history, let alone the last 100 years, that I do give credit to the museums and art galleries that it can be a little bit difficult to fit everything you would love to display. And so that's why 90, 95, 99%, depending on the museum and art gallery's stuff, isn't ever on display, which is crazy that they just have warehouses full of things, secret warehouses. But reading on, she would suffer from mental and physical illnesses as the result of documenting the experience of Canadian soldiers. I guess I wonder why in particular Canadian soldiers, in terms of how would you be finding that? Because I would have thought that you're going to be coming across a whole variety of countries and personnel and everything. I mean, were you even going to particular countries and you would have been maybe seeing enemy powers to the degree of you're going to be going to front lines and going to all these different places? I wonder if she was kind of more selective or if she just captured moments that were provocative or interesting or intriguing or anything like that. But the fact that they also say physical illness, was she exposed to disease or was there other things going on? I mean, I did love the fact that she seemingly had a dog everywhere with her, a corgi-looking dog. I'm not entirely sure, but I guess that can be kind of a support animal. That I don't know how you're really taking it around, and it would have been quite the endeavor to be getting around as a public person during that time. But still, to be taking a dog with you as well just complicates the entire situation. But if it just keeps you alive, literally, even just for any of the soldiers that they would have been coming across, just to have a friendly animal, just, the weight that it could take off your shoulders for that brief period of time would have been immense. I mean, I know that there are some dogs that were found and kind of adopted by enemy and friendly camps and army camps because there were dogs just in the middle of a war zone, poor things. But at least this is a little bit different. You can just breathe easy. And so, wow. I've never heard this story, and I'm sure to her credit and to others' credit, she isn't the only one that would have been doing this, but to be focusing on your own country but still capturing just worldwide moments in a devastating environment, it's pretty special. Now just moving along to another Historica Canada video. This is Ghost Towns in Canada.
Ghost towns in Canada. Abandoned towns or ghost towns can be found across Canada. While some ghost towns become tourist attractions, others are left to crumble. Here are the stories of 5 such sites. Bankhead, Banff National Park, Alberta.
Wow.
Called the 20-year town, Bankhead operated from 1903 to 1922.
Gold? Surely
At the time, mining within Banff National Park was not only permitted, but encouraged.
Makes sense.
Mining companies like the Canadian Pacific Railway, which operated Bankhead, paid the government a royalty of 10 cents per ton of coal mined. The company abruptly closed the mine in 1922.
Wow.
The town was dismantled and some buildings were moved to the nearby town of Banff. POW Camp 30, Clarington, Ontario.
Wait. Before she goes on, the fact that they just moved buildings to Banff, but from Bankhead, means that it mustn't be too far apart, but they are still completely derelict and not operable at all. It's not like it's been rejuvenated 100 years later or anything like that. And so I wonder what's really left. I mean, considering it apparently closed abruptly, you're not going to be having much incentive for anyone to stay around. They're going to be a little bit, I don't know, a bit pissed off by the fact that their entire temporary residency or whatever you want to be calling it was just ripped out from underneath them. I mean, maybe people had it on the cards for a few years, but to only be there for 20 years or not even 1904 to 1922, 18 years seems pretty short for a coal mine. But I guess if they just ran out, especially given the technology that they were able to, 1, get into the middle of the forest, and 2, just of the time, they probably just went, it's not worth it, we'll go over there. And then from there, it just became a national park shortly after, I believe. I think Banff was one of the first in the world.
POW Camp 30, Clarington, Ontario. This former reformatory school for boys opened in the 1920s and was transformed into a prisoner of war camp for captured German officers during the Second World War.
Right.
The camp saw a major escape attempt from 4 prisoners, including the commander of a U-boat.
Makes sense.
It was also the site of a violent incident where prisoners barricaded themselves inside the buildings.
How?
After the war, it was used as a school again until it was abandoned in 2008, though there are ongoing efforts to restore it.
Ooh.
Lake Minnewaca.
Okay. Why? Well, it's kind of a bit torn there, because if it's a school, at least they're trying to be using it for a nice educational purpose to provide a service to the local community. But at the same time, I don't know if I'd really want to be going there. I feel like there'd be so many different stories and haunting myths that everyone would just be circulating around. I don't know if it's a primary school or a high school or a middle school, if that's even going to be a thing in this part of the world. But at the same time, I still don't think you really want it. Going from a reformatory school, I don't really know exactly what a reformatory school is. Like, it sounds like a juvenile detention reschooling center, but I feel like it would have been skewed one way more than that. and then to be turned into a prisoner of war camp kind of more feels like what it was in the first place. Like I said though, I would love to know how the prisoners were able to get enough stuff or even get enough means to barricade themselves inside the buildings. Like, and why you would even want to barricade yourself inside the buildings, and how did everyone get out of the building? Or how did they get everyone else out of the building, unless they were just trying to lock everyone in? Like, you're locked in here with me style now? I don't know why you would want to lock yourself inside a prison. That's kind of already taken care of for you. But hey, maybe there was something else going on. I mean, there was a violent incident, and then in conjunction with the U-boat guys trying to escape as well, I can see why people would have been trying to get out. It's a prisoner of war camp, for goodness sake. But at the same time, I don't know why you're going to lock yourself inside a jail.
Lake Minnewanka, Banff National Park, Alberta. Unlike the rest of the towns on this list, Lake Minnewanka is entirely underwater.
What?
This ghost town, which was originally a vacation village established in 1888, can only be viewed by experienced scuba divers.
What?
There are 2 submerged dams, one from 1895 and the other from 1912, as well as house foundations, a bridge, and several wharves.
How
the town was flooded in 1941 when a 3rd dam was constructed under the War Measures Act.
Right. That makes more sense, but the fact that they just left it, that's crazy. How much more of a dam did they need? They already had 2, but clearly they needed a lot more water. I mean, underwater ruins of the town site, do they say how deep it is? I don't believe they ever did, but it certainly seems like it's... For experienced divers, is that because of the cold or because of the depth or because of the everything of it? Either way, that's a crazy thing. Like I was saying, is it the lake itself? Is it on the lake? No, it is in the lake, and you don't hear that too often. Man, that's a crazy situation. I wonder if there's any extra ruins, or did it realistically get completely cleared out? Like, it's not like people were suddenly flooded when, oh, the dam burst, or oh, the dam, well, actually it's dam. So the dam wouldn't burst. That would actually make the water go back down. But overall, can you still access or see remnants of the personnel that were living there? Not the people themselves, but their kind of way of life. Or is it just the 2 dams and the odd house and foundations?
Île Bonaventure, Percé, Quebec.
Okay.
Visitors to Quebec's Parc National de l'Île Bonaventure et du Rocher Percé can tour an abandoned town and hike to a northern gannet colony with a population of 110,000 birds.
Damn.
A fishing town had existed on this island since the French era, but by around 1967, it had no year-round residents and was mostly a tourist destination.
See, that's
the island was purchased by the Quebec government in 1971, which made it part of the park.
Okay, that's cool. The fact that they actually just went for it and went, you know what, no one's using it anymore, so we're just going to take it back and make it, I guess, a bird sanctuary to the degree of... it doesn't say it. I thought I saw there was a bird sanctuary, but maybe they're just absolutely in the middle of their breeding grounds and nothing ever changed. And now that people aren't living there, especially not year-round, they can just go crazy because 110,000 birds. That's a lot of birds, especially when... I don't know, I feel like maybe the scale's a little bit wrong, or my scale's a bit wrong, but that looks like a big bird. That looks, duck-sized? Bigger than turkey-sized? It's hard to tell. Maybe they're way smaller than I think they are, but just seeing the width of their legs, you have to have a decent-sized bird to not just have 2 tiny little toothpicks of a bird. And to be fair, I kind of feel like I prefer it this way in terms of just having these birds up here just doing their own thing, and you have to hike up there. It's not like you can drive up there. I mean, I guess you could take a plane or a helicopter, but realistically, you have to go by your legs. And so that limits the amount of people that are just coming in and out just for the sake of it. Like, oh, look how cool that thing is as they just drive by. But no, if you are committed, you can go and look at this majestic sea of birds, but otherwise... they can just be left alone. You don't have just these high volumes of people, like people are saying in Banff, just getting completely overcrowded, where you have these natural wonders of the world that are having a bit too many human interactions, so to say.
Broughton, Cape Breton Island, Nova Scotia.
With houses.
The founders of Broughton had high hopes for their company town, which was meant to house up to 10,000 residents.
Wow.
One of the first planned towns in Canada, it boasted 2 hotels and Canada's first revolving doors.
Wow.
However, the mining operation went bankrupt in 1907 when it failed to secure rail access to get the coal to port. After a brief stint as a military training camp during the First World War, the town became abandoned and has since crumbled into ruins.
Wow, like to that degree they just left it. That's crazy. To go from being, oh yeah, we're going to have 10,000 people, and to be having almost a technological hub, considering you had the first revolving doors in Canada. They have to be some of the first revolving doors in the world as well. I mean, maybe Europe was way ahead, but realistically, everyone's sharing around the same time. But for all of that to literally crumble apart just because they went bankrupt because they couldn't get rail access, and I guess they couldn't have shipping access either, and so you just have these massive rail lines all over the country, like in Banff and like everywhere else, but these guys weren't able to get it. You would have felt so hard done by. You just would have had all these grand plans, all these commitments, all these people. People would have been aiming to move up there, live up there, just go to work in the coal mines, establish a new life, and then once again, gone. And that's, I guess, the crazy thing with a lot of these small scale coal mines that didn't have much legs, but they knew that it was there. And I guess the coal's probably still there. And so people could go back up there to mine it. From a technical sense, it still exists, but let's hope that people don't. And they never even try to get the permits. We don't need any more coal. Australia's giving enough coal, and we're definitely going to get enough coal considering how much less we're going to need with so many other technologies coming to market. And who knows, maybe we just will need less rail overall. We can just go along, put massive power lines down and put solar up instead of trying to carve a path through the forest for coal. You carve a path either way, but you don't have to physically transport the thing. The electricity just flows. You just open the tap and it goes. And to be fair, if nothing else, this video does a wonderful job at showing us that nothing is permanent. Everything can be temporary. Some things never get off the ground. Some things have 20-year life cycles. Some things get drowned by different things. Whatever it may be, every city, every country, every culture goes through waves. And you can see it throughout history, and there's no reason to believe that it would change anytime in the future. The cycle might be a little bit different. We might go through different technological standings that change it as well, but overall, you can still see, and in a nice way, that nothing is truly permanent. It can kind of be a little bit freeing.